Evelyn, this is an interesting name, obviously. I saw you had tweeted there was that news headline coming out about the hot dog story, and I thought that was a funny one. What's going on with Costco, though, here ahead of earnings?
Hi, guys, and I definitely will touch on that story briefly that we saw this week. But it seems that people on social media really expect Costco to post an earnings beat, anticipating that the strength that the company saw over the summer when customers flocked to their stores to bulk buy groceries and home products to continue. In fact, this first tweet that I have for you guys, I saw many more that read pretty much just like it. This Twitter user said that Costco will beat earnings. No one comes out of Costco spending under $200 plus. It really seems like Costco and Target have this theme in common. However, while Costco does a good job in fostering its loyal customer base, there is a segment in the grocery business that Costco is missing out on, and that is curbside pickup. I mean, we've seen how much more popular curbside pickup has become just this year as more people are wanting to, not enter so many grocery stores, not enter so many public spaces. But Costco has said that they do not plan to offer curbside pickup in the near future. However, it does offer delivery services, both same day and 2 day delivery. Um, but another aspect of Costco's loyal customer fan base, and that is the story that you touched on earlier, Alex, the hot dog story. This next tweet says that they should add the Costco hot dog into the national anthem. That's what America is all about. So the viral story this week that I hope everyone did not miss is that Costco's co-founder had once told the company CEO that he will kill him if they raise the price of their $1.50 hot dog and soda combo. People on social media loved this story, and it also seems that people really love these Costco hot dogs. And it's just a relatively inexpensive way for Costco to really drum up that loyalty that, I saw all over Twitter this morning and that, I hear people talking about frequently. However, Kevin, I do have this next question that a Twitter user actually posted that I want to sort of redirect to you. But this Twitter user responding to another user asking what they think about Costco's earnings said, I think they'll have a record strong quarter. But the question is, are investors taking profit or is it going to pull a Nike? And that's really been a big question this earnings season, hasn't it? I mean, we see companies post overall strong earnings, but shares sell off as investors take profit. So, Kevin, I'm wondering from your point of view, is there any way to tell ahead of a company's report whether or not that'll be the case?
Oh, if there was, do you think I'd be sitting here talking to the lovely Evelyn Baker? No, I'd be trading this thing a lot harder. But here's what you can do, Evelyn. Here's what you can focus on. That three-headed monster of earnings is, I think, the key to the answer to the question that your viewer posted. And that is this. Look at the earnings, look at the revenue, but the guidance. Remember, Nike not only put up big numbers, but they guided and they talked very positively. Costco's presentation of how they see the future, and especially when you talk about e-commerce, that's what you have to really fuel future gains in this. I don't know if curbside pickup is the future for these stores. It's popular now, but I think e-commerce is going to be the sticky point of retail that they have to get right. So watch how they guide. The numbers will be the numbers, but that's the past. How do they guide in the future will determine, Evelyn, if we go backwards of earnings or forward off earnings.
Yeah, Kevin, I think it's a great point, particularly with a company like Costco that's fairly transparent with how they're doing in the moment. They release those sales numbers quite frequently, and so it is going to be how they paint the picture about the story going forward. And I think that's a great point. Evelyn, we got to leave it there, though. Evelyn Baker, TD Ameritrade Network contributor. It's always a pleasure to get your perspective. As we say goodbye to Evelyn, we want to welcome in the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, Landon Swan, to the program. Landon, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. This is one that we love to talk about with you guys because it does have such a following. There was almost that meme kind of, the hoarding kind of virality of this earlier on this summer that Costco was the beneficiary of in terms of the marketing and the sales. Is that holding up there as the summer's progressed, or how are things shaking up in terms of what you guys are seeing with your data?
Yeah, that was a monster quarter for them. There was a little bit of virality, obviously, as people are going in and trying to get toilet paper anywhere they could. If we can remember a few months ago, that was fun times. Yeah, they've done a good job of sustaining not that kind of level, obviously, because when you hoard, you got to go through that before you start buying again. But we're getting to that point now where people have to restock. And when we look at just like their fiscal quarter bars, they've obviously that quarter stands out as a really big one, but the current quarter that's being reported is also very strong. It's on pace for a very nice year-over-year return. And one thing that's kind of unusual about Costco is they've got fiscal quarters that don't match up accounting-wise, and so fourth quarter is much longer, and so the numbers are always bigger on fourth quarter. The current quarter that's about to be reported for them, so a little bit strange there. But when you see that 2020 Q4, you can see that it's actually up quite a bit over the previous one, and we've got to kind of throw out that giant bar that was the hoarding bar there in Q3. But Kevin talked about the guidance, and that's really important, obviously. So the current quarter is off to a good start. It's on pace for plus 17% year over year. Current quarter, I think, is up about 14%. So doing really well year over year, and obviously that's really important. Now, one thing that's key with Costco is the number of people getting memberships. So with a 91% retention rate on memberships, and the fact that you have to have one to shop there, unlike a lot of other places with memberships, looking at how many new memberships they've created is really important. I think that points more towards the future. And you can see this has been uptrending very solidly over the last several years, and it's actually sort of accelerated into this year. And you can see a little spike there at the far right with where March and April hit, but it's still popping up. And those are people that are not just buying now, but they're staying on board with Costco at, like I said, that 91% retention rate, and they're going to continue to buy there. And it's a matter of a sunk cost sort of mentality with consumers. Once you're paying that $60 or $120 membership fee, you're going to go shop there. And so we've seen that groceries in general is very sticky, and Costco's taking advantage of that on that side of things. And these are new customers coming in. I do have to say that Costco is one of my least favorite companies when it comes to playing earnings, because the entire LikeFolio advantage is based on us having 3 months worth of knowledge that the no one else has, and the company hasn't released yet. And since they release on a monthly basis, that's a little bit annoying for us because that takes away our edge. But we do know the last month and the current quarter as it's going so far is looking pretty strong.
Landon, when our viewers think about Costco and think about what that membership means, and the number one word that pops up in my mind is loyalty, right? Once you put down the money for that membership, you're going to go to Costco. And so that ability, that 91% number, I didn't know that number before you came on the air. That 91% number, which means they retain 91% of the people that join, with that along with the new memberships, that just means if they get the next steps in retail right, which is e-commerce, right? As the back of the store gets as big, if not bigger than the front of the store, they've got all the other parts of the retail sector right. And they just keep adding product after product after product. But the question is, are you seeing, or are you seeing, how are you seeing their e-commerce grow? Because that's where they've really got to compete with Amazon and now Walmart in terms of e-commerce. Are they playing as hard at e-commerce, is my final question, than Amazon and Walmart are in your data?
Yeah, I mean, well, they did release some numbers on July with their e-commerce being up 76% year over year, and August up 102% year over year. So that's trending in the right direction. Everything that we've got is showing a continued increase into September. So I think they're doing extremely well there. And one thing that, e-commerce obviously very important, as Evelyn talked about, people may not want to go to the stores as much. Fingers crossed that all ends soon. But if it continues, then you've got to bump up your ability to do e-commerce. But also, as I kind of touched on before, was the grocery is very, very sticky. When we look at how purchase intent has done across like Costco and Kroger and Walmart and Target, we actually see that Costco's got the largest increase and Kroger is very strong. Walmart is kind of so-so, but their Sam's Club is actually the stronger part of that. And then Target's a little bit weaker. And you can see the leaning there towards grocery, which is very important. So, of course, you got people going in during March and April hoarding on all kinds of goods that are going to stay good for a while, like toilet paper and paper towels. But as they become members and that changes their habit, they're going to go in for groceries, which don't last as long, and you have to continue to go back and get them. So these new memberships that stick around at 91% and people are going to continue to go in every week or every other week for groceries is a huge boom to this company. And I think that's going to do obviously really well. And of course, as we always talk about, it comes down to analyst expectations. They actually have sold off a little bit since that September update. So a good number could be a nice little surprise for the street, I think.
Yeah, no, well said, Landon. As we wrap things up here, final question for you. You talked a little bit about how because they release those numbers, you obviously lose a little bit of that advantage that LikeFolio's data can provide. But when I look at how your current quarter's pace is trending, and you compare that to the year prior, and you talk about it being up 17% year over year, I think that underscores the importance of those new membership gains that they got earlier on in the year, which is kind of the thesis of your entire statement is, hey, more people sign up, more people shop there, and they typically renew those memberships. So you have, it sounds like maybe a little bit of a lean to the long side for this earnings release, and I'll let you, of course, correct that if that's different. But I want to know on the long term, how does LikeFolio feel about Costco, particularly now that it's $20 cheaper than it was, let's say, a month ago?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this chart here, this is insane. This goes back to 2012, and you can see those bars continually growing and growing and growing. The scale's a little bit out of whack because that quarantine quarter was so high, but also the stock price has been going up as well. And yes, we do love, I'm a sort of a value guy, so I like when it pulls back a little bit. I'm much more likely to buy if the shares have pulled back. So I do like the fact that it's off all-time highs a little bit. But to your points, yes, we've got new memberships, all-time highs. We've got a really strong quarter in the books that's about to be reported, even though the street knows 2/3 of that quarter. We only know the September number looks really strong. And then as the current month's coming out, again, like you said, plus 17% year over year is the pace, and they'll release that in about a month or so. So right now, I would say that we are bullish. I expect to have good numbers out of Costco, and I wouldn't be surprised if it maybe just beats the numbers a little bit and can come up a little bit on earnings. So bullish on this report, and then long term, definitely bullish.